Anonymous, he sent me that street vacate that you sent him for the property there. So he's in good shape there, I think, to build. They're so far behind there, 'cause I'm sure we escrowed, or paid the balance. Send it to me, give it to me. Yeah. They're all messed up at the water company since the pandemic. Oh my God. Send it to me, because either my title, yes. I believe there are objectors on the second matter. I believe, but I'm not sure. Sure. Folks here in the audience, what application are you here on? Everyone on the same case?
Yes.
What case?
Saying for the bill.
Which one? Which street?
Day and the
We're doing two projects. So which one?
Day and the Forest.
Day Street, yeah. Everyone, you're on Day Street? No? Hey, man, which one are you on, man? North Second? Oh, okay.
What's up, man?
Everyone's here on Day except one young lady over here is on North Second. Ma'am, did you want to have the opportunity to look at any plans or anything since we're not virtual tonight? Or sure. Mike, so you guys could show this young lady the plans? You good? We'll start. We got one neighbor there.
If everybody could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
Guys.
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Paterson Board of Adjustment. It's on, you can't hear. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paterson Board of Adjustment meeting of August 30th, 2021. The notice requirement of the open public meeting law has been satisfied with respect to this meeting, specifying the time, date, and location, including the annual notice, adopted the reorganization meeting of the board, filed with the clerk of the city of Paterson, posted in City Hall, and mailed to at least 2 newspapers in accordance with the provisions of the law. At this time, I'm going to call the roll and see who's present. Commissioner Dumas. Present. Commissioner Furman.
Present.
Commissioner Minato. Absent. Commissioner Rohini.
Present.
Commissioner Barral. Present. Commissioner Arenas. Commissioner Arenas. Absent. Commissioner Watkins.
It's alive.
Present.
Chairman Thaxton. What did I miss? Commissioner Vega.
Present.
All right, so we have 7 present. Mr. Maricondo.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now, with regard to the agenda, is the applicant present on Millennial Luxury Apartments LLC, 18-40 North 2nd Street?
Yes, applicant is present and ready.
Okay. Before we address that, can we address 911 Day Street?
Yes, I represent 9/11 Day as well.
And, all right, and you're ready to proceed, correct?
We have our witnesses ready to proceed.
All right. As we discussed prior to the meeting, we will not be able to address this matter this evening, and I know that there's many members of the public here for that matter. Is that correct, members of the public, you're here for that? Okay. And I apologize that everybody came out and finding out at this late time that it's not going to be heard. The matter is going to be carried to Thursday, September 23rd at 7:30 p.m. So to the members of the public, you will not receive another notice in the mail. This is your notice that the matter is scheduled for September 23rd at 2021 at 7:30 p.m. All right. Anybody have any issues that you need to discuss before we carry and adjourn that matter? No? Seeing no issues, 9-11 Day Street is hereby carried to 9/23/2021 at 7:30 PM. Mr. Maricondo, we're back to Millennial Luxury Apartments LLC.
Yes, we're on the record, on Day Street, we waive statutory time requirements.
Thank you very much, counsel.
Thank you very much. Yes, we're ready to proceed on the first application.
Come to the podium, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
My name is David Ramirez. I need to know why is the reason that we are postponing the,
It's because of the board. It's not because of the applicant. We are unable to get to it this evening.
okay, understood.
Thank you. And again, we apologize.
Next time, when the case is heard, yeah.
I'm sorry, say again, sir?
No, I asked him to give the petition paper, but he said next time. Are these-
When you come on the 23rd.
Okay.
But just, we're not gonna hear the application now. I'm just gonna let you know, petitions generally are not admissible.
Okay.
If somebody wants to speak about it, they would have to be here.
Okay, and, are they still gonna be building, or are they gonna postpone it too?
No, they don't have an approval. I can't tell you what they're gonna do, but they're not gonna have an approval or a denial, nothing. There's gonna be no action taken until the 23rd.
Nothing.
Great, thank you so much.
So if they start building, call the city.
I assure you, we will not be building, yeah.
All right, and before we start on Millennial Properties, please let the record reflect that Commissioner Minato is now present.
I don't know, man. I think we got something, yeah. Take care.
Vega's the alternate, or he's the regular? Who's the alternate, Vega or Burrell? You're right, so Vega's the alternate, right, okay. Okay. Hello, how are you?
Mr. Maricondo,
Yes, sir.
for the Day Street, I'm not sure if you read my emails.
Sure.
You provided surveys separately. I need one survey because the separate surveys, they don't match each other. And it was the same
Right.
company who did them.
I did forward that on to GB as well as Mr. Evans, so I'll remind him on that right away.
Well, it wasn't GB who did it. It was Morgan Engineering, I
Morgan
think. So if they're going to do it, they need to, in other words, when you piece the three together, they don't match,
Okay,
and they're supposed to. So I need one survey. Also, Mr. Evans' plan, aside from the zoning chart, he has distances that are not consistent with the survey.
okay,
So just,
understood. Yeah, I did forward those on to both professionals. I will be following up on it.
yeah, because I said it a couple times and I didn't get anything, so, all right.
You ready?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. For the record, Alan Maricondo, 726 Market Street, Paterson, on behalf of the applicant, Millennial Luxury Apartments LLC. I'm very glad to be before you this evening, Commissioners, on a special meeting basis. This applicant has been working on this project for many, many months. It's gone through an evolution of concepts and final site plan and final architectural renderings. We've been working with your staff hand in hand to make this a project that's even better than when we started. We feel we've moved a long way in conjunction with your staff. There's been a downward reduction in the number of units. We've been able to obtain additional off-site parking. This is an application which, although we're seeking site plan use and bulk variances, is a property that's located in the First Ward redevelopment zone. And as I think you'll hear from the architectural, site plan, and planning testimony this evening, this is really, I think, an incredibly important project for the First Ward redevelopment zone. I say that because I know everyone knows that the north side is in great need of redevelopment. This particular area, I think, has really been longing for a developer with experience to take on a challenge in this lower north side area. This is a very large site. This is a site which we believe is ideally suited for this proposed subdivision and development. And we believe that when the testimony is concluded this evening, we hope you will agree with us with respect to the criteria has been met as to the positive criteria for granting the variances that are being sought. As I said, the applicant has worked diligently to make this a better project now for several months. I'm going to be calling our architectural, our engineering, our planning testimony, as well as the applicant tonight. Going to be starting off with Mr. Romanek as our first witness.
I do. Yes, Michael Romanik, R-O-M-A-N-I-K. I have an office at 291 Crooks Avenue in Paterson.
Chairman, we accept Mr. Romanek? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
As I indicated in my opening, Mr. Romanek's testimony will be limited to the architectural design and sort of an overall quick concept of what's contained on the site. We'll be moving forward with site plan, planning, and applicant testimony. So Mr. Romanek will do his best to give you a picture of what we're designing in terms of the buildings and the use, and then we'll move on from there. You can proceed, Mr. Romanek.
Yes, Commissioners, if you're looking at the architectural drawing, sheet number 1, the set of drawings is dated 2/10/20. There's a revision date of 4/16/21. Just briefly, there will be other professionals giving testimony. Briefly, the size of the property is 300 feet along North 2nd Street by 100 feet deep. That's 30,000 square feet. The intention is to subdivide that parcel into 3 lots. Each will be 100 feet by 100 feet, or 10,000 square feet. So you have 3 lots that are resulting from the subdivision that we're proposing of the total 30,000 square foot lot. Commissioners, looking at the drawing, sheet number 1, you'll see what we are proposing. In fact, it's a 4-story building with 3 residential levels above the parking level. As you can see from the front elevation, there's also 2 front elevations because each of the 3 buildings will have a different exterior finish. As far as the layout, the structural, the bulk of the building will remain the same, except there will be exterior finishes which would differ from the ones that you see here. Essentially, you can look at the architectural notes and you'll see that siding and stucco is used and so on, and also the elevation below, which also says front elevation. It's the same configuration, except there are different colors and different textures. What we are proposing, as I indicated, are 3 residential levels above the parking area. Each of the 3 levels will contain 10 apartments. There will be a total of 30 apartments, therefore. Each floor will have 8 one-bedroom units and 2 studios. That's a total of 24 one-bedroom apartments and 6 studios, comprising the 30 units in the building. Each of the 3 buildings, as I indicated, will have different finishes, but the configuration and the bulk and the massing of the building will remain typical as shown on these drawings. Initially, when the drawings were originally submitted, there were 4 residential levels containing a total of 36 dwelling units. We're proposing 3 levels of residential use now, not 4. We reduced it by 1 story. Also, that had 9 units per floor, and there was a total of 36 units in the building itself. There were 32 one-bedroom apartments and 4 two-bedroom apartments. That was a reduction that we considered in redesigning the building, which originally had 40 bedrooms. And what we have now are 24 bedrooms plus 6 studios, or a total of 30 sleeping areas. Originally, it was 40 sleeping rooms We have 30 sleeping rooms now, so it was substantially reduced in the number of units, the number of bedrooms, and also the number of stories, from, as I said, 4 residential levels to 3 residential levels. As you can see also on the summary on the right side, we are proposing some activities for the activity rooms for the tenants as well. We will turn to the other sheets, Commissioners, but as you can also note there that the building certainly will be provided with an automatic sprinkler system as well as a fire alarm system. There will be also exterior common area lighting throughout the building, the corridors, the parking areas, and so on. There will be security cameras also that will be installed in the project itself with an intercom system, obviously, for visitors visiting the dwellers. The HVAC system, there will be a cool and hot air forced air system. The condensers will be housed on the roof. They will not be visible to the sidewalk. We would also be providing any screening shields that would be necessary to prevent any visual contact of those condensers, as I indicated. Also, looking at the summary, you'll see, Commissioners, that the second, third, and fourth floors are typical. There's a total square footage of those floors, each containing 8,814 square feet. The ground floor represents about 1,281 square feet of actual building area. That's the footprint on the lower level. Commissioners, if we turn to sheet number 2, you'll see what we are proposing on each of the 3 levels, on the second floor, third floor, and fourth floors. As I indicated, there are a total of 10 units on each floor. You'll see how they're designated with respect to the one-bedroom apartments. There's a corresponding summary on the right side that corresponds to the circled number of the entry doors to each of the apartments. They're also colored for your easy identification. Each of the one-bedroom apartments contain at least the 600 square feet minimum that is required. We have even some bedrooms that are up to 773 square feet. The studios, there are 2 studios on each floor. They certainly have at least the 300 square feet minimum, which is required by the ordinance as well. Looking at the second floor, and it's also typical for the upper levels, Commissioners, you'll see that, in fact, there are 2 stairways that do provide access to each of the floors. There's an elevator as well that would provide access. That also means that each of the apartments will be handicap or barrier-free as far as some of the characteristics of the building, especially the bathrooms and also the kitchens, which have to be of a certain size for accessibility. You'll see in the center of the core, more or less, you'll see the activities room. And as you can see from the right side, there's also a chart that indicates that the activities room represents 344 square feet. They haven't been designated as far as what types of activities there. I know the owner has some indication of what he would like to propose. You'll see a trash room also in that core area, Commissioners. That would be a trash chute, so each of the apartment dwellers would be able to walk on the respective floors and throw the trash in that trash room chute, and it would lead down to the ground level where there would be a compactor. There's also provision for a janitor's closet as well as another closet as well. So that's the core. There's a surrounding corridor which leads to both of the stair enclosures, as I indicated. And again, the bedrooms, the one-bedroom apartments and the studios do meet the minimum floor area requirements of each of the for each of the apartments with respect to the zoning ordinance. And as you can see from the notation on the drawing, Commissioners, this is the second floor, but the third and fourth floors are typical, so they're identical to this second floor with all the amenities as I indicated.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? I just
Yes.
want the record to reflect Commissioner Arenas is present.
Yes, I will continue. Sheet number 3, Commissioners, you'll see essentially the ground floor. North First Street is a one-way, and that's indicated on the bottom of the sheet. So you'll see an entry area which would pass the lobby area, which is certainly fronting the sidewalk area. There's an elevator right there as well as a stairway. As you can also see from the labeling of the drawings, there's a meal room as well. And you'll see the parking spaces. There's a total of 21 spaces. They do meet the dimensional requirements as far as the space sizes, which is 9 by 18 feet with a 24-foot backup. That does meet the requirements for each of the spaces, as you can see on this drawing. There's a second stairway to the far right, also noted on the drawing, and there's a utility and mechanical room which are located to the top of the drawing or to the corners. The top corner, the right corner is a utility room, and the left corner is a mechanical room. And again, you can see the location for 2 dumpsters as well as the trash compactor, again, having the chute above it. So it aligns obviously with the chute above in that core area that I described. We are also proposing to have a planting area as well in the front area, as you can also see by the notations as well. So it's essentially an in and out one-way system. You'll be able to pull in, find the space, and then exit onto North 2nd Street. And as I indicated, that is a one-way street. Turning to the sheet number 4, Commissioners, you'll see 2 additional elevations, views of the building. One's the left side, which is actually, if you're coming down North 2nd Street, that's the one way you'll be able to see that. And just like the first floor, you'll see a mixture of exterior materials here. You can see that we are proposing a stone veneer at the ground level, as well as a combination of stucco and siding. The 3 buildings will be individually addressed as far as the outside exterior cladding goes, with the combination, as I said, with stucco, siding, and also stone veneer. So essentially, Commissioners, that's the project that we're looking at. So each of the lots, we are proposing a 3-lot subdivision will contain one of these buildings. And essentially, that's it, Commissioners.
Mr. Manick, did you reference the security mechanisms that I referred to on your plan? I'm not sure if you did or not.
Yes, well, there will be a security cameras as well, and so there will be certainly security measures taken, as well as lighting and so on, as I said, and all the other provisions of having a fire sprinkler system, a fire alarm, and so on. So it has to meet all the fire codes, building codes, and so on.
Okay, and your exterior description of the building, front and side elevations, I'm assuming they all conform with the First Ward redevelopment plan's requirements?
Yes, essentially they do. They're going to be new buildings, of course. There'll be new exterior finishing material, so it certainly would be an improvement to that area.
But you're aware, of course, the redevelopment plan has certain color designs and
Yes.
requirements, and you're fully in compliance
Yes,
with that?
we certainly will comply with that.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Romanek, at this time, subject to any questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Romanek, I saw you have the trash chute, and then it drops down to the trash compactor, right? That's how it's obviously meant to work. And somebody's emptying the compactor to go to the dumpsters, because that's a different room. A lot of
There-
times, they just go to the dumpster, and,
Yeah, that would be for recycled items mainly, if they're going to be taken down from each of the floors. You can get a trash chute that actually diverts garbage and recycled items.
well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You have no way to divert it here, because it's not going to the dumpsters. You have a wall between the compactor and the dumpster area.
Yeah, that's for if the dumpsters are to be used as well. If there's an overflow of garbage, there's provisions for dumpsters, which would be taken from the trash compactor area.
Okay, so somebody will be working the site?
Manually,
Okay.
yes, that's
Okay.
right. We just want to make sure there's enough dumpster area.
And the building will have a full super to handle these responsibilities.
And then, and I don't know if this is your call, obviously, those are dumpsters that are going to be handled by private haulers?
That would be, I think, addressed
Yeah,
by the
I'll
owner.
confirm that, yeah.
Okay. Also, the roof is only going to contain the condensers? There's not going to be open space on the roof
No.
that is utilized? Okay,
That is correct.
okay. I do like the fact that where your entrance is on North 2nd Street, that space 19, 20, and 21 don't back out into that entrance area, which is always a situation that we've been getting, and at least this is a little bit more safety guarded anyway for that, for those spaces and people pulling in.
There are guards, yes.
Yeah.
And I think your site plan testimony will also confirm that, yep.
And All the rooms are fine, they all conform to the Paterson code for the size and standard, so that's good. That's all I have for Mr. Romanek,
Okay, thank you.
Chairman.
Any commissioners have questions of the architect?
Yes, Commissioner, I have questions. Let's go back to parking. We have 30 units per building, right? 30 apartments?
Right. The parking testimony will come from the site plan engineer and the city, and the applicant's planner. All Mike did was point out where the parking is for purposes of a general overview.
I'll wait my turn then.
So we'll definitely be talking about that quite a bit.
Sure, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Ma'am, do you have any questions of the architect?
Ma'am, you gotta come to the podium.
I don't see how they're fitting this on this small contained area and how it's supposed to be fitting in with the neighborhood. When
Well, ma'am, wait, hold on. Do you have any questions of the architect?
Yeah,
Not a statement, do you have any questions?
How is the architect designing a four-structure building when none of the other buildings in the surrounding area are four stories high? This is a residential neighborhood. And like, how far is this building extending inside?
Well, why don't we do one question at a time?
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. I'm just,
So, Mr. Romanek, how did you design a four-story building?
Well, this is probably more of a planning and engineering site plan, but I'll have Mr. Romanek take a quick shot at it.
Yes, just let me get there, please. Yes.
Mr. Romanek, your building encompasses a four-story building, is that
And
correct?
before you answer, I'm sorry, ma'am, what was your name?
Tracy Zoom.
Spell your last name
Z like zebra, N like Nancy.
and your address?
73 North First Street.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Romanek, obviously, you can limit your testimony to what you've already discussed as far as the question is concerned. If you feel part of it needs to be handled by other professionals, it's up to you.
yes, well, as I said initially, it was actually a five-story building. We reduced it, we had some considerations and so on. That was actually the scope of the project, so I obviously have to try to make, things work, quite honestly, for my client. So it's residential, so I know the neighborhood mainly has one- and two-story structures. I don't think it would be feasible to actually create a building that has one or two stories. I think we do have to go higher, the density is higher, and in essence, that's why it's a four-story building.
And
So,
again,
nothing-
the nuts and bolts of the planning and site plan testimony will cover her question. Our next witnesses, ma'am, will discuss those questions to a great extent. Marco, that's about all we can offer at this point on
Yeah.
that question.
That's fine. Do you have any other questions?
My question would be too, this is like a huge, I don't want to get too close. I'm saying this is like building like a huge complex. We already have the towers over there. You know what I'm saying?
But it's not time for a statement, ma'am. That's at
Okay,
the
I'm
end. If
sorry.
you have a question,
But, like,
ask the question.
What are they doing in regards to the sewer system too? Because if everybody can remember when we flooded not coming from just the river. We flooded from coming up the sewers. Since you're now you're planning on building this huge product, which is gonna add a heck of a lot more volume to our sewer system over there too. What is being planned in regards to maintaining the sewer system to prevent any more future flooding as we had all those years ago, now that we're gonna have this humongous new complex?
What I will. Site engineering. Yeah, again, this will be a site engineering question to be addressed. And I also want to point out to the young lady here that the engineering department of the city of Paterson has a final say-so on the design of the sewer systems and how this type of project gets linked up to the city sewer systems. And that's a very extensive review. And the building department of the city of Paterson and engineering department would all have to pass on this project if this board were to approve it. But you will be hearing more testimony about that as well. And then if it's approved, final construction plans go to the next step with the city.
I would like to know too, where is all the drainage gonna come from all these buildings? Now,
I think, again, that'll be for the engineer, he indicated. The engineer will address that. Do you have any questions specific to the testimony you heard?
My main question is the spacing between my property and this huge complex that's planned.
Okay.
I don't see how it's fitting. You know, it just doesn't seem like it fits with the neighborhood. No, we're not living in the best neighborhood, but this is still my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like that's gonna bring the property value down if you have some humongous structure towering over your little houses. You know? Because I work hard for what I got. You know? That's why I find this project upsetting, because now it's like you're gonna take it.
Ms. Zun, if you want to save that for the end, you're allowed to, and you could give a general statement on everything, the architectural, the site plan, your neighborhood, the traffic, the parking. Yeah.
The traffic, because like, there's like,
Again, that's at the end.
Listen, though, you could say it at the end. Right now, if you have a question of the architect, so if you don't have any more questions of the architect, that's his testimony, please sit down and we'll call you again.
it's what about the parking too, though? Is that
Yeah,
right?
That's
that'll
not-
come later.
That's later.
All right.
We'll call our next witness on the site plan.
Hi, good evening. My name is, sorry. Yeah. I do. Mark Shinoda, it's Shenoda. I work for French and Pearl Associates at 1800 Route 34, Wall, New Jersey.
And Mark, have you been licensed as a professional engineer, site plan engineer
Yes, I am.
in the state of New Jersey for how long?
For 8 years.
And have you appeared before various municipal boards in that regard?
Yes, I have.
I would ask for consideration for acceptance. Thank you. All right, Mark, obviously you've had an opportunity to hear Mr. Romanik's testimony as well as my opening. I believe the board has a general concept of what we're doing, but could you review your site plan in every respect
Sure.
with regard to the overall property design?
Sure. As you may be aware, the existing property contains, you go to page 2 of the set of plans there,
Page 2 of the site plan now.
the site plan documents. The existing site contains a
Excuse
self-storage.
me, give the last revision date of the
Oh, I'm
plan that
sorry.
you're talking about so that we make sure everyone is on the same plan.
The last revision date is April 28th, 2021.
Thank you.
So, yeah, looking on page 2, you'll see the existing conditions at the site property right now. There's an existing self-storage facility along with parking and site access that are required for the site. Right now, the entire site is paved. All of this is pavement here. The majority of the runoff from the parking area, as well as some of the runoff from the building, goes into this trench drain going into the middle of the paved area, and that trench drain drains into 2 dry well systems that are adjacent to the drain itself, allowing for the stormwater runoff to percolate back into the ground. That's how the original design was intended. A portion of the water does overflow out onto the street and is collected by the existing sanitary sewer system that's out here, combined sewer system that's out here. Looking at page 3 of the plans, this is basically the demolition that's going to be involved for the site. We're clearing the site, taking down the building, removing all pavement, removing some of the landscape structures, existing utilities, as well as the 2 existing dry wells.
Is everyone hearing him okay? Linda, you okay? Okay, okay. I thought it was
A little louder?
A little closer.
Okay, sure. Okay. Now, moving on to page 3 of the site, you'll see where we have, based on the subdivision, we're dividing the site into 3 equal properties of 100 feet by 100 feet. Each property will take one of the buildings, and this plan shows the first floor of the buildings beneath the actual structure itself, where the parking, building access, and some of the mailroom, the trash room, mechanical room is shown on this plan here. We performed a subsurface exploratory program to determine the condition of the soils underneath the existing building, to determine their suitability for stormwater management, groundwater recharge, get their percolation rates, and to see how the existing dry wells on site were functioning. And the soil results we got back weren't great, but they do show a certain level of percolation that will happen with the site. As such, we've designed 3 underground detention basins, 1 for each of the buildings, that will take the surface runoff. Again, some of the cars will bring in some moisture from, even though this parking lot's covered, Cars will bring in some moisture will get into the actual parking area. So that drainage will go into the detention basin as well as the runoff from the roof leaders of the building. So they will go into the system, and the system itself is designed to contain the entire 100-year storm for the area. So I believe it's 8.8 inches over a 24-hour period. And then looking onto, let's move on to page, sorry, 5 real quick. Showing the outlet, each basin is going to be controlled by an outlet structure that ties into the existing combined sewer system in the street. The outlet structure is going to have a controlled outlet of 4 inches from each of the underground systems. And we've had discussions with the Passaic Valley Sewerage Commission about the additional flow coming from the buildings, and they have said that it's something that they can handle. There's a possibility of a little more control for the outlet structure using a valve. That's something they're going to talk about during the approval process. But all that water is going to run into the existing sanitary sewer system onto the street. It's a 12-inch PVC there, and each one will tie in with the outlet structure and a doghouse manhole.
So if I could just interrupt, or just to sort of look back to the question that was raised. There's been quite a bit of work already done from an engineering, underground sewer system work, end of the project.
Right, and we prepared a stormwater management report for that, showing our runoff calculations. The project obviously will be approved by the Paterson Sewer Department as well as Passaic Valley Sewage Commission. They have to sign off on this design as well. We also have the existing utilities running from the utility room of each of the buildings off to the side and connecting in to the existing utilities on the street: gas, water, electric, and the sanitary itself. Each one of those will tie in, the water will tie in with the wet tap, the gas will tie in with the tapping system, and the sanitary will tie in with a doghouse manhole connected to the existing sanitary pipe in the street. The parking itself is designed to maximize the number of parking spaces we can get underneath the buildings. We're providing one handicap space underneath each of the buildings, and the travel route from that handicapped spot to the nearest building entrance is below the 2% maximum grade allowable for ADA accessibility. The buildings themselves will have a 1-foot side yard setback on the east side of the buildings and a 4-foot side yard setback on the, I guess it's the south side of the building, southwest side of the buildings, excuse me.
So each particular subdivided parcel will contain how many parking spaces?
Each one will contain 21 spaces.
And we have off-site parking?
And we have off-site parking on 3 smaller properties that were pointed out. One property is Block 202, Lot 1, Jefferson Street. We're going to get 10 parking spaces in there. Block 221, Lot 7 on Presidential Boulevard, we're going to get an additional 6 spaces in there. And another spot near the corner of Garfield and Jefferson, that's Block 201, Lot 23.
And these are
We'll
all
get 4 additional spaces
These are all
there.
spaces that the applicants acquired for parking for this project. And we'd like to submit these as exhibits at this time. If I could.
Sure.
Maybe you can hand them to me over there.
I only had 2 originally. 2 additional sites. I don't have a 3rd one. The last one I didn't have, so I assume that's something that was added on later. Jefferson and North Third, which is...
We're not going to refer to residential at all, I'm sorry. But the applicant does own these, so there's no lease issue involved.
Okay, well, I'm just going to correct then, your block 202, lot 1, you said 10 spaces, and your plan shows 8.
We think we can verify that that's doable with 10?
Right, we have, that plan that you have there shown has site access from North Third Street. If we provide access from Jefferson Street with a drive aisle and parking spaces on each side of the drive aisle, we believe we can get 5 spaces on each side of the drive aisle.
Take a look at this, Gary, and see if you agree.
Well, I'll address that later.
Sure, you can address that.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to mark those at this time. Pardon me? How many are there? Only two parking lots.
Okay. Right, we did the subdivision plan, yeah. And they're shown on page 2 as well.
No, they can
No, we have
circulate
extra
it.
copies, yeah.
Wish at
We
this
could
time,
circulate that, yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
We're also providing sidewalk along the frontage of the property. Each of the driveways will have handicap ramps to and from, along with sidewalks that connect them, all of them below 2% grade, which complies with ADA requirements for access. Looking at page 6 of the plans, obviously when the time comes for construction, when we get there, this is the soil erosion plan. Each lot is planned to be built individually with silt fence, site access, as well as stockpile areas that can be used during the construction process. I guess that's really it for the plans there. Yeah, let's see. Well, we did sorry. We also did a traffic count to determine the traffic generated by the lots, by the buildings, excuse me. The ITE manual, 10th edition, classifies these buildings as mid-rise apartments, which are between 3 and 10 stories. So they classify as mid-rise apartments, and based on their requirements during the peak hour generator, AM peak hour generator, each unit in the building will produce 0.44 trips during that hour, for a total of 14 trips per building during the AM peak hour generator. During the PM peak hour generator, the ITE manual points out 0.46 trips per dwelling unit for, again, if you round it up, a total of 14 trips per unit, per building during the PM peak hour. For the full day, each building is anticipated to produce 163 trips per day based on a 5.44 trips per dwelling unit for mid-rise apartments.
Okay, now, with regard to subdivision, you referenced your office performed and prepared the subdivision. That's part of the record this evening, is that right?
Correct. Our office prepared the major subdivision plat that you guys have in front of you. Again, the site is 300 feet by 100 feet. We're dividing it evenly into 3 100-foot by 100-foot properties to accommodate the buildings.
Okay. So then if there was an approval of this project, each parcel would be created independently, recorded by deed, and each development of 30 units would stand on its own, so to speak.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, Rich?
I think that's really
I
it.
think that will conclude our March testimony at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Mr. Shinoda, did I pronounce?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, all right. The subdivision, minor subdivision, is it going to be filed by deed or by a plot if the application were to be approved?
By plot, I believe.
Okay.
Yep.
And that date on the subdivision, proposed subdivision, prepared by someone in your office was 2/12/21?
I believe so, that's correct, yeah. There's been only one revision of that plan. I don't think it's been revised.
Okay, it has to be.
Yeah.
All right.
And it was prepared by a professional land surveyor licensed in the state
Yeah,
of
I
New
saw
Jersey.
that, I saw that, I had to check for that. Okay, first, I'm just going to go over, I know you have a planner, but since you put the bulk requirements on your plan, I'm going to go over them. And then I guess Mr. Williams can address them, or if there's an issue, Mr. Shinoda can bring it up right now. Okay, Commissioners, I have, first of all, the use variance this is not a permitted use in the First Ward redevelopment area, so obviously it's a use variance. Minimum lot area required per lot is 15,000 square feet. They're proposing 10. Minimum lot width is 150 feet. They're proposing 100. Minimum front setback is 25 feet. They're proposing 1 foot. Minimum side setback for one is 15 feet. They're proposing 1 foot. For both, it's 30 feet. They're proposing 5 feet. Minimum rear setback the minimum requirement is 20 feet, they are proposing 3 feet. Now, the floor area ratio, the maximum is 1.4. The proposal on the plan is 2.8, but the actual proposal, by my calculation, is 3.5. That's also a D variance. And the reason for that is the code says anything on the floor area that is used for residential purposes is to be included in the floor area ratio. They exclude basements, you don't have a basement. So I believe, I don't know if Mr. Williams checked it, but I believe the 3.5 number was correct. Lot coverage, the maximum lot coverage is 20%, proposal is 88.7. Open space requirement for each building is 7,400 square feet, and 0 square feet is proposed. The density for each of the lots, 11 units are permitted, and 30 units are proposed, which is also another D variance. And no parking 3 feet to the property line, and 1 feet is proposed. And last but not least, 54 parking spaces are required and 21 are proposed, which is a shortage of 33 per building, which is a shortage of 99 for the site. Now, I'm going to address the off-site parking. The Lot 7, Block 221 on Presidential Boulevard, where 6 spaces are proposed. According to my calculations, that's 9 blocks away and 1,800 feet. That's not even feasible. I don't know how you come up with that, but 9 blocks is not.
That's the one we withdrew from. Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you, but that's the one we're not using.
Okay, those are the only 2 I have. I don't have your third one. Your other one on Block 202, Lot 1, is 4 blocks away and approximately 775 feet. Again, these are not, conditions where the parking provided is next door. So I do have an issue with the parking, and my issue is this. During my site inspection, there were cars double parked, and I had to double park to do my inspection on 2 different occasions. I'm not sure if one of the commercial buildings is even being used, and I had to double park. And there were other cars double parked. If your shortage, and I'm using RSIS, if your shortage is 33 spaces per building, 99 spaces has got to be like 15 blocks in Paterson of no cars. And I just don't see that working. That negative impact, to me, it's just too surmountable, that you can't, I don't know how you could justify it. When I can't park 1 car at the site. So,
What we'd like to do is, when you're concluded with your questioning, we could ask you to take a look at that second parcel we talked about for off-site.
I will, but again, if that's 6 spaces, and the other one, which is 775 feet, is 8 spaces, you're reducing the 100 shortage by 14 cars. So now, and if the board should consider that, 775 feet for this one lot is really, it's a stretch, especially in bad weather, cold weather, rain, carrying groceries, it just doesn't work in Paterson if you're familiar with the parking situation. But those were my variances that I calculated, and I'm not sure if you agree or disagree, but I would certainly look at that other off-site parking that you submitted.
We can have those are marked already, okay, we could have those distributed. Gary, if you want to grab it?
I also did want to say the minimum front yard setback, minimum side yard setback, minimum rear yard setback, maximum building coverage, and maximum impervious coverage are all also existing variances. So the existing property is also in nonconformity with those requirements as well.
They're existing variances.
Right.
Let me get back to my Oh, here, just pass this down. Okay, those existing nonconformities, first of all, are going to be eliminated, and they were built about 150 years ago,
No, I understood.
when it was permitted. So they weren't non-permitting variances back then, they were probably permitted. So when you remove that building and you reconstruct, you can't say that, you know, you're not putting up the same building. If you
Understood.
want to put up the same type of building that's there now, then you have an argument. Otherwise, you don't have an argument. The two sites, there are two additional sites now you're showing me, which is 10 spaces. This one that's 775 feet away, I would ask the board to disregard. Those 10 spaces, I don't really know how far they are to the site, because this is the first time I'm seeing them. So if they are even workable, then the shortage of parking goes from 99 to 89 for the project. 89 spaces, if those two sites are workable.
This was about 3 blocks away, right? Yeah.
That's
about
all I
3
have for the plan, Mr. Chairman.
Any commissioners have questions?
Yes, I want to hear more about the parking. Let's, obviously, those 10 spaces are not working. And so this lot right here, Garfield Avenue, how far is that from the lot?
Just so I can clarify, I believe Gary indicated block 221, lot 7.
Block 201, lot 23.
Okay, that's the third one we're referring to.
That's this one,
Yeah.
that's the 4
So
spaces.
that one is much closer, I believe, is that right, Mark?
This one's much closer, the
Right.
one on 3rd and Jefferson. the one with the 10
Just state
spaces.
that on the record if you would.
Yes, yes, the lot that's on the corner of 3rd and Jefferson's about, I believe, 2 blocks away from the site.
And who owns that lot?
Yeah.
The lot that's on the corner of 3rd and Jefferson is block 202, lot 1, was about 4 blocks away and 775 feet. It's not
Yeah.
two.
Actually, my question would be for the owner. I mean, would somebody walk that far to go home every day?
And the owner will testify, this evening.
Okay.
But there is that second parcel that Gary reviewed now too, which contains off-site parking.
Yeah, I just don't know how far they are because I just saw them tonight, but the one on corner of North 3rd and Jefferson is almost 775 feet away.
We'll have the owner talk about the proximity.
And I did have a question regarding the building height.
I do have a clarification. Can you elaborate on the handicap parking spaces that you described?
So we're providing one handicap space under the building for each building.
And you have so many families in each building?
Well, each of the buildings are one-bedroom apartments, so we're
Yeah,
anticipating.
I know,
single,
but
you know,
how many bedroom apartments you have?
30 in total. 24, one-bedroom,
And you're only
6
providing
bedrooms.
one handicap space?
Providing one handicap space, correct.
I don't know, it doesn't sound right.
The conceptual parking layout where Mr. Shinoda revised, the one on the corner of North 3rd Street and Jefferson, the spaces are all undersized as well. He put 10 spaces there, but they're undersized.
They're 8.5-foot spaces, correct?
That's right.
That's right.
Nine is the requirement, RSIS and the city, so. So here, you can pass this. This is the revised, give me the other one, please, so I can send that down.
And the handicap space that we are providing in the parking lot of the building is van accessible with a 8-foot striped island.
The parking lot that you're proposing for North 3rd and, excuse me, North 3rd and Jefferson, that's on the top of the hill, correct? So they have to walk up the stairs or either have to go around Welcome Street and walk down North 3rd.
775 feet, no matter what.
Yeah, I know. And where's the other site at?
I just passed it down
What
that way.
street? Jefferson and what? Because Jefferson Street is a two-way. Most of those streets that you're proposing to build this property on, it's a one-way street. Hilden Avenue is a two-way, that's a county road. You either have to come up Garfield Avenue to turn down Jefferson Street, but you can't turn down Jefferson Street because that's a one-way going into your property, so you'll have to go all the way around, go up, Hilton Avenue, and then come back around.
I'll have the applicant come up to confirm that on the record, in terms of the proximity to the site.
Chairman, Commissioner
Yes.
Renaro. I already see the problem with the parking, but have we considered regarding flooding when any of that happens? Yeah. Have we taken into consideration anything regarding, or what you're going to propose if flooding happens? Because that address is right in the flood zone.
Right, the applicant is very familiar with that area and its topography and its engineering challenges. Mark touched upon some of the engineering work that's already gone into the site, but I know that if this application were to proceed to the construction phase, the ability of the applicant to develop this project successfully is going to depend upon being able to meet the requirements of any flood challenges in the area. So I'll have the applicant talk about that a little more, but we know that that's something we will have to address as we go forward if we get that opportunity.
Right on the corner of North 2nd and Garfield, North 2nd and Jefferson Street is floods there. You get 2 good days of rain, right on that corner, you're like wiped out. You can't move.
And also, if it's a flood zone, you obviously know, dry wells won't perk in a flood zone.
Right, and again, we designed the basin itself to contain the entire 100-year storm for each building.
Like a retention?
Yeah, detention, yes.
Okay.
I think there's been much more than the usual pre-approval engineering work for this site.
Yeah, each basin is about 2,500 square feet and about 36 inches deep. And again, we designed it to contain a storm of almost 9 inches over a 24-hour period of water.
That's under each building?
That's under each building, and that's not including any percolation rates. It was assumed that percolation failed on the site
Right.
to design the basins.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. It is a flood zone, then, I'm...
It's not in the FEMA flood hazard area.
It's not?
It's not. It's close, but it's not in it. Yep.
We know the challenges of the area, but fortunately, we're not officially in that zone concern area.
Ma'am, do you have any questions? Come to the podium, please.
Questions on this testimony?
Yes. Well, my questions is, if this project moves forward, I have like 2 direct questions. If this project moves forward, what have they planned to protect our property from the demolition of this structure? Because all the properties that border this thing, I mean, this is the property that they're planning on knocking down is only a 1-story storage unit, like thing that is quiet, have no issues with them people. And that is directly on it's like we back up onto each other. My backyard backs onto that property. And everybody who has properties over there on North First has fences leading into this property, that are basically touching this building that they're... My question is, what are they gonna do to protect our property, our fences, and especially in regards to 75 with North First Street, which is owned by the Department of Housing, has a very large tree in that yard, which is overhanging the structure that they're planning on demolishing. I've already... Huh?
Let me answer the question. You're giving Steve...
Oh, no, my question is, what are they gonna do?
Okay, so let him answer that question.
I'm sorry. I'm just not used to this.
That's okay. It's okay, we're just trying to help you.
So again, we're not going to touch the fences on your yard. We're gonna provide a... Yeah, we can over here. So whatever fences are along the site over here, we're going to maintain. And
Mark, keep your voice
sorry,
up.
all the fences along this property line, on this side of the property line, are going to be maintained. And as far as the stormwater, we're not going to allow any stormwater to run off onto your site. All the stormwater is going to be contained within our site.
I'm sorry, that doesn't seem feasible simply because the structure is literally touching the fences. If that structure comes down, it's definitely gonna take part of them fences down. Because I know when the tree fell from 75 onto my property, it took out a portion of my fence simply because the tree was like this and so heavy. And the tree that's overhanging the building that they're planning on demolishing, that the Department of Housing owns on 75, the other tree is still there. My fear would be too that if they don't take proper steps to protect my property from that tree overhanging, who's to say when they take that structure down that they're not gonna take that tree down too and it comes at my house? Because I already had a tree coming from 75 at the Department of Housing. They took one down, they didn't take the other, and that thing is overhanging my house. What steps have they planned to protect my property in the demolition process?
And let me just address that if I could. And I think what you're hearing from the engineering and site plan testimony this evening is probably more detailed than you normally hear on a development proposal of this nature, because we understand that this site has challenges, but we're the applicant who's making the effort to come to this board to take on a very challenging site, but a site that's in extreme need of redevelopment for residential use. We're going to get rid of a non-conforming commercial structure in the process, and we understand that there has to be the utmost respect for all neighbors, all conditions, topographical, natural structures such as trees, buildings. Any demolition plan or any construction plan has to go through multiple steps if we get approved by your board. I know your board wants to make sure that the applicant's going to do the right thing down the road, but we are here tonight on a different level of procedure and process for approvals, but we do have the professionals on board, as you can see tonight. They're going to take every step necessary to ensure the safety and well-being of all the neighbors and all their assets and all their property. Thank you.
My other question would be in regards to the sewer. Because like, what plans have they made with people who maintain the sewer to keep maintaining? Because it's all good and well to plan that, oh, we have this here in case that 100-year storm comes. But we already had that 100-year storm a couple years ago. And the reason that we had failure in our ward is because they were not maintaining the sewer. They may have had the plans and the sewer system there, but the sewer system was not maintained properly because it came from the river, and there was blocks that came all the way to my street, and it was dry on my street, but you went up a block, like North 2nd or 3rd, and it was not dry because it came up through the sewer. What are we gonna do to start maintaining that sewer if we're bringing in a huge, massive project that's gonna bring in a lot more into that sewer system than was even previously there? Because you have to have a plan in place too, not just to have the sewer system, but how are we gonna now maintain that sewer?
Let me say this, it's an ongoing obligation both of the municipality and the applicant on a proposal of this size and scope to ensure exactly what the young lady has indicated to the board this evening. I'm sorry, I forgot her name, I apologize. But again, her questions are excellent ones, and we understand them, and the applicant knows that moving forward on this type of project involves that kind of monitoring and on-site maintenance of the site as it proceeds to a full operational use of the site. So we respect her questions very much. It's an obligation both of the applicant and the governing body to ensure that if a development of this nature is approved, not only is the design approved as she correctly indicates, but the implementation of the system is monitored not only by the applicant, but by the governing body as well. Pardon me, sir? Sure.
Thank you.
I do. Fernando Hernandez. Hernandez, Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez, you are one of the principals of Millennium Luxury, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
You've heard all of the testimony up to this point from the applicant, from the architect architect as well as the engineer?
Yes, I have.
Also, the questions raised by the concerned neighbor?
Yes, definitely.
Couple points. Just go back to the off-site parking. Did you have any other points to add about that? About that parking lot?
No.
I mean, you understand where it is?
Yes.
Do you have any comment, or you understand Mr. Paparazzi's position on that?
Definitely. I mean, and that's the reason why we removed the presidential one, because after reviewing and looking at it, we felt like, yeah, that's definitely way out of
You think
sight.
the two lots are manageable
Yes,
for use of this site?
I think so, yes.
With respect to all the other testimony you've heard this evening, are you in full agreement with that testimony?
Yes, I am.
And you have experience with other developments within the city of Paterson, is that right?
Yes, I do.
I know you've appeared before this board as well as the planning board under different entities. Just give the board a quick capsule summary of your development work in Paterson.
I mean, just more recently, right now I'm working on Coral Street. It's in the same ward. It's a 23-unit building. And it's all located all near two family homes. It's very similar to this place. Actually, probably more residential this place, because our neighbors right now are commercial.
Okay, so you also have other developments where you maintain multifamily and have built multifamilies in the city of Paterson?
Yes, I have multiple two-family homes, 5 families, 10 families.
All right, and with respect to the architectural testimony, you're in agreement with Mr. Romanik's plan, I would assume?
Yes, I am.
Also, our engineering testimony, on behalf of your project, you're in agreement with that testimony as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That's all I have of the applicant at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hernandez, you just mentioned, you just did another development. Was that in the first ward?
Yes, yes, it is.
Then it should have been in front of the zoning board because it's not a permitted use. Multi,
The planning board application, as I recall, I don't recall what part of the board it was, or...
well,
didn't-
it doesn't matter. If it's in the first ward redevelopment, permitted uses are one family, two family, townhouses, and 3 to 4 family dwellings. If you put a multifamily there, somebody made a mistake and sent you to the wrong board. Quite frankly, it's not a permitted use, and it should have been here in the first place. That's number one. Number two, that parking on North Third and Jefferson, you have 10 spaces, but they're undersized, so let's cut it down to 8, and I don't think that works at 775 feet away. The other site, you only have 4 spaces, but I don't know where that is, because I just saw it tonight.
It's right across the street.
Okay, so then it's only 4 spaces off of the 99 that are required. Let me,
99 represents a total of 3 different building sites.
right, but that's the application.
Right, but I think if you look at this project in context, I think these projects, from a practical point of view, have to be analyzed a lot in terms of their freestanding nature.
If you have to double park to go there with one car, I gotta assume that 99 minus 4 is 95 spaces short. That's a lot. Have you considered maybe the 2 buildings and a parking deck in the middle? Let me ask you that.
I mean, when I thought of the project, I did a bit of research. I looked into the master plan of the city of Paterson, and when I received your notice that said 54 spaces, I mean, I was just as shocked as you guys. I was like, 54 spaces, 30 units. But looking at the master plan said that this area is one for one. So it's 30 units. It would have been.
Your professionals will tell you different. RSIS takes precedent over the bulk requirements of the city. You could ask any of the 3 professionals.
No, but just, obviously that's on a very, obviously, one board is different from the other, but let's just say this one, the first ward and the fourth ward, if you're from Paterson, you live in Paterson, you know that the first ward and the fourth ward are very similar in every aspect. So when you look at the fourth ward, and in the fourth ward right now, it would have been 1 for 1. So obviously, yeah, when the master plan was designed, it was designed differently, which I should understand that. But just saying that, listen, it basically, had it been in the fourth ward, which is, if I'm born and raised in Paterson, most of you guys are too, you would know that they're very similar in nature in every aspect. So I guess it's very unfortunate that the master plan was designed differently for 2 wards that are basically identical. But it would have been 1 for 1, and it had it been 1 for 1, then it wouldn't have been as drastic as far as with all the parking spaces.
Understood, and we understand we're bound by the redevelopment plan.
Yeah, definitely,
We're
yeah.
going to have Mr. Williams talk about the parking variance.
Yeah, well, again, the fourth ward, the 1 for 1 is only when you put what is permitted there. When you do something else that's not permitted, then you have to accompany the bulk requirements for the use that you're asking for. And when it goes to parking, residential site improvement standards govern the 4th Ward, the 5th Ward, the 1st Ward, and every place in New Jersey.
No,
And again, all your professionals will tell you that. So the 4th Ward is
definitely, but
not one for one.
I would assume like in the 4th, I've seen many buildings that are on 100 by 100, and they're 30 units, 36 units, 40
Every
units.
project is different in every ward.
They all should have been
No, I
in
just
front of the
wanted,
zoning board,
yeah,
too.
just touching on, how I came up with that, yeah.
Right, Chairman? All right, well, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, for Mr. Hernandez.
Any commissioners?
Well, so much to talk about. But I would love to see a smaller building, obviously, in this area here. That's that we don't have that here today. As you can know, we have a problem with the parking. We don't have parking in the city of Paterson. If you have built in other wards, you should know that we are in trouble with parking here. We're building massive structures, putting a lot of people in homes, but we don't have the space to put one car. So my question would be, obviously, you don't have any more parking, or this is the only parking you're showing right here, right now?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Watkins. How you doing, Mr. Hernandez?
I'm good, how you doing?
After visiting that site, and if this is a project that you're really interested in building, have you considered parking, building parking for all the parking spaces that are needed?
So basically you're saying that I consider when I
Not
thought
what
of
you
the project
consider, what's needed.
was needed?
Yes.
As far as for the building?
Yes, because he says we're short so many parking spaces. Why don't you build that many parking spaces in order to make this project work?
So they're asking you to take into consideration what the board is discussing this evening, whether you would reduce the number of units in order to
Okay.
create more parking on site. I mean, at this point, obviously, you don't have to make a decision about that, but it's something we could talk about off the record if you wish.
Okay. No,
Is that your answer?
No, I mean, I guess he answered for me, but like my answer to, no, I was just gonna say, I just wanted to make a quick comment, is just, the reason why I named the building Millennial Building is because I'm trying to cater to what I feel is a neglected demographic in Paterson. I feel that Paterson doesn't do too much to cater to like the newer generation that's coming up, that's graduating at a higher rate, that's going off to higher, to universities and graduating. And when it comes to like the parking, like the building is, I'm trying to cater the building to a younger generation who's more than likely going to have one car per apartment, which is kind of like with the ratio where I was trying to keep the ratio at, and that's the reason why there's six of the apartments are studios, and I was going to try to cater those to like the college students because the project is like 2 blocks away from Heldon Avenue, and the bus stop is right there. That would take them straight to the university.
Are you really familiar with that location? Because there are 3 churches right there off of Heldon Avenue.
Yes.
And at the end of that block where you want to build, there are all kind of townhouse units there, a very tight one-way street that has a auto body shop across the street.
Yes.
So if you're short that many parking spaces, do you know for that narrow street what kind of congestion you will accumulate? Just being short. So you really don't have parking spaces on that street, nor down the end of that street, on those streets going across. There's no parking spaces. So if you have businesses directly across the street from where you're at, where are these people gonna park at? I went there and I visited the site. I guess you're knocking down all of those garages that are there.
Take up pretty much,
Okay,
they
and that's
take
on
up
one
half of the
side.
parking on the street, yeah.
That's one side. But to say that you are going to have 90-something available parking spots on the street, that's not possible. What is possible that you would reconsider and build the amount of parking spots that are needed for that project?
Part of the planning testimony, Commissioner, I certainly understand and appreciate your comments. Part of the planning testimony which we'll be presenting is that we believe that a variance for parking is appropriate in this area, not necessarily a necessity to meet the actual technical requirement of the zoning ordinance for those additional 33 spaces per building. Again, that's why we come before the zoning board to seek variances with justification, we believe. He alluded to, the applicant did, about the bus transportation nearby, the fact that these units will likely be occupied by small demographic groups, studios or one-bedrooms. So we think there's a lot of reasons why the parking could work there. But we certainly respect and understand the presentation that you're making as well. At this point, I'm not sure if we understand your question.
Yeah, I have
Any
another,
other questions?
I have another comment, though, Mr. Mariconda. The parking requirement for RSIS is 1.8 spaces per unit. That's not just for the people that are there with one car. That's for visitors, guests, anybody else who would visit the site. So it's not just that you have to take care of the one car for the studio apartment. You have to take care of people that are going to be visiting there and all the other issues that are related to the RSIS requirement. Additionally, and I'm sure Mr. Williams is going to talk about this, so I printed the bus route. There's only one bus that passes there, which is the 744, and that's at the end of the block. And when I called some time ago, and the commissioners might know this better than I do, they don't run on the weekend, most of the buses, and they stop at 6 o'clock. So that does not constitute relief in parking to me. That's not a Hoboken, Jersey City type of scenario where you have the light rail, the ferry, the path, the train, the subway. You know, one bus that passes at the end of the block, the 744, again, does not constitute relief in parking. So again, I disagree with that as well.
I wasn't finished, excuse me, Mr. Allen.
I'm sorry, too. I'm sorry,
No,
too.
that's okay, that's okay. You know, some may think that they'll pass because it's a nice project. Absolutely, it's a nice project. Is it needed? Absolutely. But we must consider the residents and everybody around there. Even, hopefully you will consider the residents as well. Thank you.
Okay, we will, once we conclude our testimony and questioning of Fernando, we'll take a short break to discuss the dialogue.
Any other commissioners?
Yes. Commissioner Furman, I do have a question. Can I proceed with my question?
Oscar and then Commissioner Furman.
Thank you, VP. Commissioner Vega here. I should have addressed my name before. Regarding the height of this building also, I know we had the architect talk about this. I do see a problem with covering residential homes with this big building too. Was there a thought about that? I mean, regarding the residential homes around this building?
Definitely. That's why we removed the floor.
We dropped one level of this project as we move forward in the early stages. Mr. Romanek, I think, referred to that. And Mr. Williams, as our planner, will be testifying about the height and the number of stories variance that is required, yes.
And also, as Ms. Watkins said, you know, we have very small space there. This building is going to be covering almost the whole area, walk space and everything else. Did you guys look into that in regards to the lot coverage, which should be at least 20 max, and it's 88.7 proposed. So it's a big area to cover. Any thoughts on that?
That'll be part of our planning testimony as well.
Okay, thank you. No more questions, VP.
Commissioner Furman.
Is it Hernandez or Fernandez, your name?
Hernandez. with H.
Hernandez.
Mhm.
Do you live in our city of Paterson?
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Do you own similar project in our city of Paterson?
I'm developing one right now as we speak. It's on Coral Street.
Okay. Thank you. That answered my question.
You're welcome.
Any other commissioners?
I'm sorry to ask that again. You said born and raised, but are you a current citizen, resident? Sorry.
Am I current resident?
Your current residence is in Paterson?
No, I live in Franklin Lakes. But I just want to continue something on that. You know, I think it'll be, unfair to say that I'm not from Paterson because I sleep in Franklin Lakes, but I live in Paterson. I'm here from 7 in the morning. Look to what time it is now. So, born and raised, Market Street, Highland Street. All of my properties are in Paterson. Every dollar invested is in Paterson.
Anyone else?
Commissioners? Ma'am, you have questions of the owner? Ma'am?
Do you have any
Yes.
questions of the applicant or at this time or no?
Come to the podium, ma'am.
I don't understand how it's being justified, the proximity of this humongous structure to the other properties. It doesn't seem like there's enough distance. It really does not seem like there's enough distance, and I have the same objections as everybody else to this parking situation. There's just not enough parking in the neighborhood to begin with, and then you plan on bringing in this, all these new residents, and then who's to say that people that don't even live there, that come visit our neighborhood, ain't gonna start parking up in there too? Who's to say that that's not gonna become a new draw spot so that they can walk a couple blocks away to go do some business? And what have they made in regard to lighting this structure? Because now what? We're supposed to have like this huge lighted structure blaring in our house all day and night? What have they thought about that plan too? Because they're supposed to have the lighting to protect their people, but what about the people bordering the property that now we got this like floodlight on us, if that's what they're planning?
What I can do is just answer the last question first, is Mr. Romanik's plan does provide a security and lighting system that, as all of his design plans do, take into account protection of the site without impact on the surrounding neighbors, and that lighting plan has to be approved by the building department as well to ensure that. We will be offering additional testimony about the size of the structure and how it should be deemed appropriate for the particular site. Are there any other questions for Mr. Hernandez? If not, we'd like to get a 2-minute break. Any other? No? Okay. So if we could have 2 minutes, we appreciate it. Thank you. really give consideration to what the board and your professionals were discussing. What we'd like to do is come back with a modification of this plan. We'd like the matter to be carried if possible. Obviously, because we've been waiting such a long time, we would like the earliest possible date to do so, given the opportunity to provide your planner with modified plans. We would very much like to be heard in the month of September, if at all possible.
The earliest would be October.
If it could be early in October, I think my client would live with that. What?
Gary, you'll give him a,
All right. Mr. Chairman, and if I may interrupt, I'm sorry. If I could just interrupt you briefly. The reduction we're talking about is very substantial. I don't know whether the board would want to consider hearing Mr. Williams' testimony on it. If you would, they would like to remove one of the 3 buildings. Now, it obviously changes the number of units, the number of parking spaces, and it would provide for more parking on site. That type of reduction, we believe we could testify to if you wish to consider it at your consideration.
Mr. Mercando, I have to go over all the numbers. I know what Mr. Williams will be testifying to, but in order for me to check Mr. Williams' numbers, I need some time, so...
We would revise the site plan as well, of course.
Yeah, no, I know,
Yeah.
but I would ask the board to give me an opportunity to see it first, and then go over my numbers and just make my projection, because, you know, when you come in with parking that is off-site, now, I knew about 2 spots, and one was 9 blocks away, and one was 4 blocks.
This would be
Then there was-
primary additional on-site.
Right,
yeah.
right, but so, but for those reasons, I would like to see, like,
Right.
just for example, the site plan says the floor area ratio is 2.8, it's actually 3.5, so.
It will be reduced quite a bit.
Right, I know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
in order for me to do the calculations, I really don't like to do them on the fly. I would
Understood.
like to do them where I'm comfortable and I can check the numbers.
Understood. Okay, if we could get the earliest possible date, we'd appreciate it very much.
The 14th?
Is that a regular meeting or a special?
meeting.
It's the regular first meeting in October.
First regular.
Yeah, Mr. Maricondo, you know we're still having a problem with the agenda.
Staffing, yeah.
So the chairman said that there are no meetings scheduled for October. So I don't know if the commissioners have their agenda with them, if they can, if you want to go sooner, but so even if you went October 7th for special, you would have to clear that with the commissioners here tonight.
No, we can't do that tonight. If we're gonna do a special earlier, you're gonna have to work that out, it's gonna have to be renoticed.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Okay, why
too
don't we
many-
do this? We'll take October 14th for now. If we can work out something with your staff and council to do an earlier date, then we would have to re-notify.
Right.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, you come forward if you want. Ma'am, first of all, I'm gonna ask that you guys exchange information with the attorney, so he can keep you apprised of everything, right? 'Cause that's more of a courtesy than anything. The matter is being scheduled, it's getting carried to October 14th at 7:30 PM. If it remains October 14th at 7:30 PM, no new notice is required. You're not gonna get another letter. That's your date, right? There's gonna be modified plans, which will be available in City Hall. Again, I'm asking you to exchange information. Maybe he could email it to you in advance. You know, you guys could coordinate that. If for some reason it's not gonna go forward on the 14th, if it's gonna get another date, there would be new notice sent out. But as of now, bank on it being October 14th at 7:30 PM.
Can I get it written down somewhere?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, ma'am.
Can I get a paper with the date on time on it?
I still can't hear.
I don't think I have a pen.
I'll write it down.
What?
October 14th.
Yeah, I know, I just want to, like, have a piece of paper.
Give you my card and write it on here, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna give her my card, counsel, with the
Yeah,
date.
sure. Do we have rules that have your
You can
appointments
see
that
it,
day?
right?
Yeah.
Hold on.
October 14th at 7:30. Now,
Okay, the next
if we come
meeting,
back with a special meeting before
September,
that,
the
we have
first
to
regular meeting? What?
Otherwise, you're just going to be on that day, okay?
Okay, thank you.
The first regular meeting in September. The first regular meeting in September is the 9th. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. For the record, statutory time requirements are provided. I'll speak to staff if there's a request to expedite on another earlier date.
Yeah, just, can't really get involved with that right now.
Yep. That date on there, I'm sorry, it's a blue card, it's not too easy to.
Meeting's adjourned, people. Our next meeting is September the 9th. It's a regular meeting.